Hello everyone, and welcome to another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a fragrance from the house of Dior, and this fragrance is called Bois d'Argent. Now, Bois d'Argent was released in 2004, and the perfumer for this fragrance is Annick Menardo. Now, just to tackle the name of this fragrance first, Bois d'Argent is of course a French name, and it could translate to either one of two things. I think the translation is a little bit obscure. So first up, of course, Bois means woods, and then argent in French also means money. So while the translation of this fragrance can mean wooded money or wooden money, argentum is the Latin word that the etymology of the word argent can be traced back to. And argentum means silver. So this fragrance can also mean silver woods. I think in either case, the translation is appropriate, especially considering that other reviewers have already noted that this fragrance has somewhat of a silvery, almost cloudy expansion or smell on the skin, but at the same time, you can imagine somebody with a lot of money wearing this fragrance. Now, the House of Dior has a few different lines. Of course, they have the standard line, which can be found at most department stores like Macy's, Sephora, and Nordstrom, and that includes fragrances like Fahrenheit, Poison, and Dior Homme. And then they have the La Collection Privée line, which translates to the private collection, which was originally started off in 2004, and it included this fragrance as well as Eau Noire and Cologne Blanche. Since then, it has expanded to include a bunch of other fragrances like Grande Vie, Leather Oud, and the now discontinued Mitza and Vetiver. I'm going to let you know if I think it's a good thing that they chose not to discontinue this fragrance. But next up, let's take a look at the presentation for Bois d'Argent by Christian Dior. Bois d'Argent is available in 3 bottle sizes, 125, 250 and 500 milliliters, and it's available in 2 concentrations. The first 2 sizes that I read off are available in eau de parfum, whereas the 500 ml bottle is available in eau de cologne concentration. Now, the one that you're looking at here is the middle size, the 250 ml, which I believe translates to 8.4 ounces. That is a huge bottle, a lot of juice. Now, I have not seen a bottle of the 500 ml size, but from what I've read, it does exist. So first up, let's take a look at the box. The box is really this cylindrical cardboard container, kind of nice, pretty simple. You have a sticker here at the front with the name of the fragrance and the name of the house right below it. You have CD embossed here at the top, and then on the inside you have this foam padding that the bottle sits into very snugly. Really nice presentation, as well as the sticker down here at the bottom with some more information like the UPC code, the batch number, the concentration, all that jazz. So that's pretty much as far as the box goes for the presentation of this fragrance. As far as the bottle goes, you have a pretty simple bottle, also cylindrical, very classic, very timeless. I would like to mention that over here on the sticker, which is very similar to the one that you'd find on the box, I have seen that in some bottles it's on there a little crooked. Nothing is really wrong with my bottle, but just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I wouldn't worry about that too much. Cap actually looks kind of nice here. It's a little ribbed, and then you have CD engraved at the top, and you also have CD engraved in the atomizer. Really nice attention to detail. One other thing that I'd like to notice is that this cap has polar opposites, very much like the Chanel caps. So you just drop it and it just clicks into place on its own. It's actually quite nice. I like it a lot. Nothing going on down here at the very bottom, no sticker or anything like that. And as far as the atomization goes, you don't get a good distribution, nor does it spit out a lot of juice. So with this fragrance, you can actually afford to do a few extra sprays and you won't choke anybody out. And that has pretty much been the presentation for Bois d'Argent by Christian Dior. Now, in the opening of this fragrance, what you get is this honey note that's very quite evident, very apparent. You cannot miss it. It's very evident. And I think that initially one would think that all of that sweetness is coming from the honey, but I think it's a combination of the honey, but also an interplay of the different resins that are used in this fragrance. Now, I know the note of resins is what's listed as a note, but if you want to break it down, there's perhaps a little bit of labdanum, perhaps a little bit of benzoin, kind of giving it this very, very mild medicinal feel, but not overly. I think that the iris note that's used in this fragrance really cleans it up. So I think there's just a little bit of sweetness. I mean, there's a lot of honey, but a little bit of sweetness. And what I think it does is it gives this almost a very wearable quality, at the same time not fully allowing it to enter gourmand territory. And I think it's a combination of course, the resins and the incense, the Somalian myrrh note that's used in this fragrance, in combination with the leather, that really you would think that they would clash with each other, but they really complement each other in their contrast. It's very unusual. The resins come across quite dense, very viscous, very full-bodied, and then you have this almost wispy, iris that's just a little bit powdery but more balmy and billowy and cloudy, as some other reviewers have stated it to be. And I think that that's absolutely true. So the iris kind of cleans and almost envelops and surrounds and hugs the other ingredients, and it really gives it this really weird but very unique smell. And it's a fragrance that's definitely worth owning, especially if you're a collector. This is a must-have in every collector's wardrobe. And then of course, the more that I wear this fragrance, the more that I smell it, there's this note of cypress that I know a lot of people do not pick up on, but it becomes more and more clear to me the more that I wear this fragrance. And I would like to use the analogy of a figure standing out in the distance on a foggy day. You can't see him, but you know he's there. And the closer you get, the more apparent he becomes. The same thing with this fragrance. The more it dries down, the more evident that that cypress nose becomes. It's almost like the podium of a trophy. It really just holds up all the other ingredients, as well as a musk and patchouli note. And I think that that gives this fragrance a very classic dry down, but classic but not dated smelling. So I like the fact that Annick Menardo chose to go with cypress instead of oak moss or fir, because that could have potentially made this fragrance smell dated. It smells classic but very modern. I think this is a modern masterpiece, or a masterpiece for the modern man, rather. So I like the combination of the incense that doesn't smell smoky, and I believe it may be the you know, the sweeter variety of myrrh. Of course, there's bitter myrrh, which I believe is the variety that's used in Eau Sauvage, Le Parfum by Dior, which kind of has in its sole nature, it could come off smelling a little bit like burning rubber. And then you have the sweeter variety, which is a Papanax, which smells a little sweet, and I think that that's what's used in this fragrance. So you get that sweetness from the honey, but I think a lot of it may also be coming from the myrrh and the other resins. Really unique and outstanding fragrance. Absolutely one of my favorites. So the bottom line for this fragrance is you're going to get a fragrance that smells incensey but not smoky. It smells classic but not dated. Very high esteemed, very mature, elegant, incredibly wearable, and it smells super expensive. It just has this really expensive quality to it. So in terms of compliments or complaints, this fragrance is much more likely to land you a compliment. Last year I used to wear this to work almost every day, and there's this, I work as a teacher, and there's this tutor who used to come into my classroom a couple times a week for in-class support, and every time she smelled this fragrance on me, she would compliment me. She said that it was one of her favorites. So I think this has a very attractive, very alluring quality to it. People are bound to love it, honestly. And then lastly, have I worn this fragrance outside of testing? Yes, absolutely. One of my favorites of all time. I mentioned in my starting lineup video that this was my signature scent, and I think it has an incredibly high versatility, incredibly high wearability. This is a Swiss Army knife for me. So definite must-have in any fragrance collector's wardrobe. So again, thank you so much for watching. Last up, we have the rating. Take care. First up, we have uniqueness and overall smell, and I ended up giving Bois d'Argent a 10 out of 10. The smell on this one is just absolutely amazing, fantastic. I was blown away when I first smelled it, and I know this is a fragrance that doesn't cater to a lot of people's taste initially, but then the more they wear it, the more they start to appreciate it, and this is a fragrance that really grows on you. I think that fixatives were used entirely successfully because the performance on this fragrance is very, very good. So vanilla and musk and patchouli were used very successfully. Very unique fragrance, despite the fact that it can be compared to a few others, Iris by Odori or Bois d'Iris by Van Cleef & Arpels, but those fragrances do not even really compare to this one. This one is in a league of its own, in a class of its own. Just an amazing fragrance, totally unique composition, very well done, and just a beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Beautiful composition by Annick Menardo. Ended up giving it a 10 out of 10 for uniqueness and overall smell. Next up, we have longevity. Also gave this fragrance a 10 out of 10. Longevity on this fragrance is above average to excellent. I put this on at 1 p.m. one day, at 3 p.m. rather. Didn't end up going to sleep until 1 a.m. and I could still smell it on my skin. 10 hours is excellent longevity in my books. I ended up giving it a 10 out of 10. Next up, we have projection. I give this fragrance an 8 out of 10. I think the projection on this fragrance is pretty good. I think it's because of its compositional nature that some people may say it's not as good, because even though this fragrance does feature that dominant note of iris, and even though that iris note may project, it's so thin and wispy in its nature that to many people it may smell as though it's not projecting as loud, when in fact it's actually projecting very, very well. but I think that the projection for this fragrance will give off the impression that it's not really packing too potent of a punch, so I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10, but that's still very good projection. I actually wouldn't want this fragrance to project any more than that, but an 8 out of 10 is a really good mark in my books. Next up we have Versatility, 10 out of 10, of course. Versatility on this fragrance, I think it's incredibly unisex. Anybody could wear it. I think that depending on the size that you buy, it's affordable enough that you can wear it casually, you can wear it to work. The performance makes it very appropriate for in a work setting. You can also wear this formally or semi-formally. Like I said, it smells very luxurious and regal, very expensive smelling, and I think that this would do very, very well in all seasons because of its performance. So 10 out of 10 for Versatility. And last up we have the presentation. I already told you what I think about that, from the cap to the cylindrical box. Yes, the label can be crooked sometimes. I have seen it crooked on some bottles, but again, other than that, very classic, very timeless. I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10. It's not an Amouage or by Kilian, but the presentation is still very nice, so I ended up giving it an 8 out of 10 for presentation. And then that brings this fragrance to an overall rating, or an average score, of 9.2 out of 10. But this fragrance might as well just be a 10 out of 10. Excellent fragrance. So there you have it. That was my review of Bois d'Argent by Christian Dior. If you own or have smelled this fragrance, please let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to shoot me a message. I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. Again, as always, please don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. And again, this has been Steven with another fragrance review from Redolessence. Thanks for watching.